Ladies and gentlemen, GST, the much hyped and the much talked about, finally has seen the light of the day, having been passed from the Rajya Sabha. And the government is going all ahead towards its implementation in April 2017. But there are still a lot of ifs and buts, lot of concerns, as was raised also, natural gas not mentioned. Otherwise also, people are still apprehensive how it's going to be impacting their particular sector. For GST is going to be impacting all sectors. In fact, Petrofair had also organized a workshop last month towards looking into the implications which GST is going to be having on the oil and gas industry. Right now, we are going to be having a panel discussion. Herein we are joined by, again, the stalwarts of the industry. We have been joined by the finance heads of the oil and gas industry, and also the views and more understanding about the GST coming straight from the Commissioner GST. So I would like to invite here our esteemed panelists to please join us here on the stage for this panel discussion. Shri Upendra Gupta, Commissioner GST, CBEC, Government of India. Thank you so very much, sir, for joining us. Inviting now Shri Subir Purkayastha, Director Finance, Scale. Pleasure to have Shri A.K. Sharma, Director Finance, IOCL. And now inviting our next esteemed panelist, Shri R.K. Garg, Director Finance, PLL. Shri P. Raghavendra, President Refinery Business, RIL. And Shri A.K. Srinivasan, Director Finance, ONGC. And now I would like to also invite the moderator of the session, Mr. Anish Dey, Partner and Head, Strategy and Operations, Infrastructure, Government and Healthcare, IGH, Lead Oil and Gas, KPMG, someone who's a leading analyst, researcher, market gauger. And for the proceedings of this panel discussion, I hand over to our moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's indeed my pleasure to have such a wonderful panel, many of whom I know personally in the course of work. And it's indeed my sincere thanks to Petrofair for organizing this. I have had the privilege of being involved with Petrofair in many of the deliberations on GST. We have also had several roundtables where some of the people on the stage, including Mr. Upendra Gupta, have given their thoughts. Today we stand at a time where there is a significant amount of euphoria around GST. There is a significant amount of planning which is happening towards implementation, but there are also some dark clouds, especially for the hydrocarbon industry, where the clarity is or maybe the clarity is there, but the portents are not necessarily what would have been in case hydrocarbon industry had been fully under the GST regime. So what we are going to do is have a panel discussion. I have a few questions for the panel, but I'm sure that the panel would have questions for each other given the nature of the panel that we have today, which is extremely informed, erudite, and experts. Just to set the context to start with, I'm going to request Sujit Ghosh of Advaita Legal to come and make a very brief presentation so that we are all on the same page in terms of what are the provisions of the GST insofar as the hydrocarbon industry is concerned. So Subir, if you could just start maybe a 5-minute presentation before we get to the discussions. Slides.
Thank you, and we have very little time, so I'll quickly move to the broad contours of what GST is going to look like. So effectively, we're talking about these products which are probably the base for the energy sector, which will be outside GST. And the way the language has been mentioned is very specific. They speak about HSD, they speak about MS, they speak about crude, and they speak about natural gas. In other words, what you're talking about is significant amount of goods that is getting produced, supplied by this sector, namely naphtha, kerosene, LPG, will be within the net of GST, but rest of the goods will not be within the net of GST. The other point of relevance is all of these goods that you see, all those in the boxes, they will continue to be under the current tax regime. So effectively, we are talking about a dual hybrid tax regime, which is, to my mind, a bane, and it should not have happened. And I completely agree with Dr. Hilton when she said that it's a missed opportunity. Pipeline services, tolling services, all of them will be within the GST framework, because these are all services and there is no embargo insofar as the GST laws are concerned. Your Central Sales Tax Act will continue to operate insofar as those goods which are outside the GST is concerned, and your imports will attract IGST, which is a significant differentiator from your current regime. SEZ benefits, the law is not very clear. All it seems to be speaking about is a concept of zero rating and a concept of deemed export. But what they don't say is what happens to projects that are currently being housed in SEZ. If you look at the SEZ Act, there are specific tax exemptions, all of those relate to the current law. There is no mention of GST exemptions, so probably some work needs to be done by the ministry to make the SEZ Act in tune with the GST framework. Otherwise, we are looking at some kind of issues. Hybrid tax regime, the fundamental problem that we will have is, while your products or outputs may be outside the GST net, your inputs and input services will be within the GST net, and therefore there will be a credit crunch. In other words, your cost of doing business is going to significantly go up, and you will have to now figure out how your pricing is going to happen. There are attribution issues that are also be likely to arise in terms of how much of credit has been used for taxable supplies and non-taxable supplies. That's something that you have to be looking at. Key issues, so all custom duty exemptions will continue, but your CVD exemptions on CVD rates and SET exemptions will go away, and therefore you'll have an IGST there, which means huge amount of cash flow impact as also a cost factor, because all of that is going to be non-creditable if your products are outside. Natural gas, this is a big one to my mind. Natural gas, they say natural gas is outside GST. What about CNG, that is compressed natural gas? What about liquefied natural gas? Because the entries for CNG and liquefied natural gas is different from that of natural gas. If you look at your customs tariff, 2711 versus 2721 for those of you who are in this particular trade. So that will be an issue to be dealt with. NCCD oil says it's not clear whether those will be subsumed. There's no mention whatsoever. Some amount of drawing board discussion will have to happen insofar as these taxes are concerned. Exploration licenses for assignment, all of those will continue to be liable to service tax, which is currently liable to service tax, will get subsumed into GST, and therefore you have a cost increment there as well. Cash calls during exploration stage, the same issue about whether it will be liable to service tax will continue in the GST, because these are all activities for a consideration or no consideration, therefore a tax cost to that effect. Process large losses and SUG, those issues will once again surface because the word consideration has got significantly changed. It is no more the typical consideration that we have read so far in the service tax laws. The net has been widened, and therefore you will have to look at how do you deal with SUGs and process loss. Branch transfer, this is a big one because branch transfers will trigger as VAT or as GST, subject to the fact that the products are within the range of GST, and that essentially means there's a cash flow impact significant. Of course, you will get a credit when you sell them down the chain, but making sure your valuation for the branch transfers, you'll have to make your applications there in your workings. Complex valuation, enhanced working capital, gas used as fuel. Okay, because power sector is going to be outside the GST net, the fuel GST, whatever is going to be there, or whatever impact is likely to be there, is not going to impact the power sector, because for them it doesn't matter because whether they are in the GST net or not. But insofar as petchems are concerned and any other cases where it is being used as a feedstock, is going to be an incremental cost. So beware and think about that very significantly. Commercial issues, this is the last one. Significant amount of overall needed for your contracting, because today your contracts are based on certain amount of language like sales, services, etc. All of that goes through a change, and all of that will need to be looked at. In short, the hybrid structure puts you in bigger stress than the typical ones who are likely to be within the GST net. Thank you.
Thank you, Sujit. So that's quite a set of challenges, and we possibly will not have the time today to go through the detail of any of these. But what we are going to look at today is more the impact, and for that I'm going to first start with the industry before coming to Mr. Gupta, because that's where I think we'll get the insights from his side, from the government side. To start with, Mr. Raghavendran, for you, how is this? Good, bad, or ugly? I think you have to use the mic, please.
As far as the industry is concerned, it was looking to having this also included, all petroleum products included under GST, especially post deregulation, it became clear that a tax regime which prevented any stranding of taxes at different stages in our value chain would have been a great thing for the industry. And unfortunately, though realization of this kept the exclusion of petroleum products out of the constitutional amendment, the Damocles sword is still there, it is still hanging on us, and our analysis is that the situation has become only worse with the GST covering part of our products, and so we have greater compliance costs, we have a slightly greater amount of spending at different stages in our value chain, and I think quite a lot will depend on the rules that are formed subsequently. The zero rating of many of these products, which the finance minister spoke about, would probably solve a large part of these problems. But if that doesn't happen in the GST Council, or if alternate measures are not found, the industry will end up with higher amount of standing, higher amount of costs than what it is used to today.
Thank you. I think the refining sector clearly is going to live with a split personality, so to speak, because half in, half out. It's a very challenging situation. But how about the upstream sector, Dr. Srinivasan?
For the upstream also, it's as Mr. Raghavendra was mentioning, that again these taxes will be stranded. We can't take the credits because natural gas and crude oil is becoming excluded from the GST, whereas certain products are forming part of it. So handling this mixed product regime in the system is going to be a very difficult process. As Raghavendra also mentioning, the compliance issue is also going to be a very difficult proposal because we'll have to maintain the GST and the earlier existing taxes in the system. So this will be a definitely challenging task for the company to work on.
Okay. For the Mr. Purvokar, for the the pipeline segment and also petrochemicals, the two segments which you are principally in, is there a difference in the impact? How do you see it playing out, GST playing out for your segments?
Yeah, we wish this gas had been covered under the GST, but now that it is not there, and I fully agree with Madam Hilton that it's sort of a missed opportunity. It will definitely, go to increase the cost of my production because the Senvet credit which was otherwise available would now be missed. So not only for petrochemicals, for other industries, for fertilizer as well, this would be resulting into an increase in the cost of production. Besides what Mr. Srinivasan has said, the compliance issue will of course be there because GAIL is also dealing in products which are under the GST and which are not under the GST. So the compliance issues, the cost of compliances will go up. We have to go for registration virtually in every state now. So it is quite a challenge. What Mr. Raghavendra has said, that there could be possible ray of hope if it is covered under the credit regime with a zero tax. So if that happens, it will provide a lot of relief. This is what I can say at this point.
So two themes, one is cost build up and the other is compliance. These are coming as consistent themes. Dr. Sharma, from a pump prices standpoint, how does it look? Have you made an assessment of what is going to be the impact on pump prices for petrol and diesel?
I would like to say that there are implications of keeping the major petroleum products, that is the diesel, petrol, ATF, crude and natural gas out of this GST. But the implications are such which are actually in the form of stranded taxes, basically non-availment of the Senvet which is available. Otherwise now the GST will not be available because 60% of our products are outside GST. So that will have an implication. We made some assessments, maybe for us it's working out to almost 2,000 crore rupees. So dealing with the dual mechanism, actually while it is a GST is a welcome step for the country, for the economy, and we fully support that, but then for petroleum industry, dealing with the dual mechanism, both from compliance point of view as well as from cost point of view, I think we are in the most difficult spot. as there will be financial burden, which I am saying. As you have said regarding the pump prices, these are all indirect costs. So the pricing of the petroleum product is basically governed by a different formula. There are international benchmarks through which the petroleum prices are actually ascertained. So these, I don't think there is any mechanism to immediately pass on these things by way of the prices to the end consumer. But then it becomes a burden on our revenue, our profits. So we will have to work out some other way. Maybe we will be taking up with the government, because when we are supporting the move, at least we should not be saddled with the additional burden instead of passing it on to the customer, which I think is not directly feasible as per the prevailing practices.
We'll come to Mr. Gupta on that, but before that, Mr. Garg, LNG, NG, CNG, have you assessed this problem? Because these are very important parts of the whole segment, and then because the tax definitions are different, there could be different implications. Have you assessed the implication of these?
I think whatever interpretation we take, but I think there is no doubt actually in my mind that natural gas would not include LNG, CNG, PNG. These are basically natural gas. It is only the way that we transport or we use and we do the things. I think we can get some clarification from Mr. Upendra Gupta about that, but in my mind I think it is natural gas, whether it is LNG or CNG. But the point is that what is the purpose of taking out the petroleum product, and that too some of them, and including natural gas, out of GST? Whether it is good because of maybe some of the state government wanted to keep their revenue intact. But considering that the government has already committed a revenue neutral regime for 5 years, then why the government should not, and GST Council should not right now consider these 5 products also into the GST regime and recommend to the government for inclusion? Otherwise, it will be a hybrid situation where we'll be having an issue of higher cost, definitely, because there will be cascading impact to the consumer ultimately, and there will be additional cost in terms of, like in our case, when we use our terminal, and especially we are giving tolling facility, there is a service tax element, and currently service tax is 15%, and definitely GST is going to be not less than 18%. So this 3% extra cost is going to be then borne by someone, ultimately the consumer. Similarly, as I mentioned, that cascading impact would be there when this natural gas or any product which is under VAT or CST, and finally that is used for making, say, fertilizer, and fertilizer is in GST, whereas natural gas or any other product which is not covered in the GST, they will be under VAT and CST. So there is no credit available under GST for VAT and CST. So there will be an issue of cascading impact. The purpose of introduction of GST was basically for ease of compliance, for reducing cascading impact, and if we are facing with the same issue for the industry where 30% of the revenue is contributed by this industry. And another thing which I just wanted to mention about the natural gas itself, we see the total revenue generation by the states is not that high as compared to if we compare with diesel and MS and other products. So natural gas keeping out from the day one from the out of GST should have been a good proposition. I think GST Council should consider from the day one, and the way that we'll be doing the business, confusion will start that whether LNG or CNG or PNG out of it or not. And ultimately, if there is a cost involved into it, some part of that is ultimately coming to the government. If, like in case of a fertilizer, if there is an increase in the cost, ultimately the government is paying through the subsidies because the retail price is fixed. So I think government should reconsider initial stage instead of creating a complication later for this industry to take out some of the, may not be all, but at least natural gas will propagate, that should be taken out. It will not have much impact as far as the overall revenue of the states are concerned. Thank you.
So actually you make a very important point, and I'm going to come to Mr. Gupta on that one. So the point which you're making is that because of all these changes which are half-done changes, and also that natural gas has come as an appendage to oil and gas, and this time unfortunately it's losing out in the bargain. There are a whole lot of distortions which are coming, which can have potentially inflationary impact both on fuel, food, and all such prices. But I see another prospect which is very disturbing, which is that the government's intervention will become necessary at various stages, and we can fall back very quickly to a control regime from a decontrol regime. Now that's a real risk which is there, just to manage the process. So around all these questions, Mr. Gupta, which you have heard, which are the challenges which you have heard, and also the point which I worry about at this time, both on inflation as well as on the controls, what would be your perspective, and what should be the path taken by the industry?
I think I am the person who will have to face the brunt of all these questions.
You've been doing that, sir, for a while now.
I have been doing this, but the fact of the matter is that, the Constitution Amendment Bill has been passed. The form in which it has been passed is known to everybody, and it is not that it has happened suddenly. We have been talking this probably since 2013. But all these problems which have been mentioned are well known. I mean, there would be cascading, there would be increase in cost, there would be double compliances. The petroleum industry is the one industry which would have to operate both under GST regime as well as under the existing regime for some products, and then for some other products it would be under VAT regime or central excise regime and so on. Only good part is that if tomorrow it is decided by GST Council that these products are to be brought under GST, the Constitution Amendment Bill is not required. So there is a hope that it can be done at a faster pace than in comparison to some other products which are not at all in GST, and for which a Constitution Amendment, further Constitution Amendment Bill would be required. I have no answers to all this because it is a fact that the way the law has been put in public domain, although we are examining what can be done, but as of now the credits would not be admissible in respect of supplies, or they will be admissible only to an proportionate extent, to the extent the output is under GST. Similarly, the products manufactured toward downstream, on these 5 products, the credits would not be admissible to their user. So there is an increase in cost, both for manufacturing and both for the users of the products which are manufactured by this industry. We are examining that can there be any ways and means that the cascading can be reduced. So we are conscious of that fact, and we are examining what can be done. And at the same time, GST is not a decision which has to be taken by center or by states alone. It is a collective decision which is to be taken by the center and the state governments together. So the agreement, what has been reached so far is that please let us include it in Constitution, the petroleum products, but for the time being, till we gain experience in GST regime. Because GST is a uncharted territory. We don't know what would be the impact of revenue. For last 70 years, we are into origin-based taxation. Now we are suddenly moving to destination-based taxation. Different states as well as center have different apprehension, different concerns. So a collective decision has been taken after substantial amount of discussions, that some unanimity has been achieved, and this is what is in front of us. So as of today, this is the case. It has all the consequences which all of you have mentioned. How it can be reduced, we are examining that. Your suggestions would be welcome, that how the industry thinks that all these issues can be mitigated and to what extent. So we are examining that, and I would request everyone that to, maybe through Petrofed or maybe individually the comments can be sent only on this aspect, because to say at this point of time that it should be included in GST may not be, may not be considered at this point of time, because having taken a decision that GST Council would take a decision, you can say that GST Council should immediately agree to inclusions and for these problems. That is one way. The other way is that if that doesn't happen, then what next? So I think we may concentrate more on what next rather than, saying upfront. That is my sense, because then we will be in a position to mitigate the problems. That is what I would say.
Right. No, we are out of time, but I think that's an important perspective that the industry needs to remain engaged with you to find both the ways for kind of mitigating the current design and the impact of the current design, and also looking at how quickly it can be brought under the ambit of GST. And I think that's going to have to be a very, very active engagement. And with the people who are there on the dais and in this room, I think that message has to be taken forward. It's a complex process. You are most aware of that, and the Director of Finances and others are most aware of this. So I think we need to kind of chart this course together. We'll have to stop over here because we have the address by the guest of honor, Shri K.D. Tripathi, right after this. So thank you very much. I would request you to put together your hands for thanking the panel.